Today we're going to take another look at our JUMP data and learn about one more measure of center. You have learned about how we can take this data and find the middle of it. That's called the median. Yesterday we added them all up and divided by the number of pieces of data we had to find the mean. And we're going to today learn about the mode, which is one more measure center, a way to describe the data in general. So when we are finding the mode, it is the number that shows up the most often piece of data within this group. So when I look at the data that we have here, remember this pink one is just colored pink because it was the median, but I'm looking for repeated data. So far, 48, 50, nothing's repeating until I get to here. At the 52, I have two 52s. Two people scored 52. It's actually me and somebody else. Then 56, 63, 91. So the only one that shows up more than once is that 52. So 52 is actually, so I'm going to circle those two right here. 52 is the mode. That's the number that shows up most often. So 52. There are a couple of things you want to watch out for, special conditions that you might see. So I had to make up some data for that as to help us learn about it. So what should you do if no number is repeated? Take a look at this example of fifth grade classes. If our school had 18 kids in one class, 17 in one class, 21 in one class, 20 in one class, and 19 in one class, then no classes have the same amount as another. So nothing is repeated. So no number shows up the most. So in this case, we write no mode. That's the answer. There is no mode. We don't want to say 0. Sometimes people think, oh, there's no mode, I'll write 0. Nope. 0 is not the mode because it does not show up the most. We just say there is no mode. It's kind of tricky, but if no number is repeated, there's no mode. Now, we have to also think about what are we going to do if several numbers are repeated. So let's take a look. We have a set of data here about some number of pets that teachers have. So if I went up and asked Miss Boss and Miss Fleshman and Mr. Merck and Miss Pugh, how many pets do you have? Here are their answers. So somebody said they have 1 pet. Somebody said 2 pets. 2 people said 0. So somebody said 0 and another person said 0 and then 3 and then 2. So I want to kind of think, do I have any repeats? I'm actually going to maybe underline them to see. So I noticed right away I had 2 zeros. And then now I also see that I have 2 2s. 3 isn't repeated and 1 isn't repeated. So if I have 2 numbers or more that are repeated the same number of times, and those are the most amounts, the biggest amounts of them, then we can have more than one mode. So in this case, the mode is 0 and 2. So I'm going to write it 0 and 2. Both of those are the modes. It could be possible to have 3 modes or 4 modes. You can have lots and lots of modes, but it has to be the number that shows up the most. Okay. We've been all week looking at the ages and practicing those measures of center. Well, I wanted to point out to you that let's take a look at this. Do we have any repeated numbers? Nope. No one in Miss Boss family is the same age as someone else. So she has no mode in ages of her family. Guess what? Mine's the same too. There's no twins or no people born on the same year. So there's no mode. It's not very exciting in this particular case. So I had to make up one more. If we had some kids in an after-school program and we asked them, how old are you? We'll pretend that these are their answers. So one kid said 7, another kid said 7. Then we had 2 kids that said 8. We have 4 kids that said 9 and a 10-year-old and an 11-year-old. I think I'm actually going to group them together let's move them to kind of help me see. So I have 2 people there. Those 2 are the same. And then checking out 4 different 9s and then a 10 and 11. So in this case, we're looking for the one that shows up the most. Even though we have 2 7s and we have 2 8s, right here, we have 9 shows up even more times than the 7 and 8. So our answer, the mode of the ages in the after-school program, would be 9. That's the number that shows up the most. So each day I've been trying to give you a way to remember them. I like to think about it like this. See how the word mode starts as the same as most often. So every single time I think mode, I say in my head mode most often, and they start in the same way with that MO. That might help you. All right, we have made it through our 3 types of measures of center. We found that the median was the number in the middle. And actually, I'm going to write what they were. So the median of the jumps was 52. Then on the next day, we found the fair share, or the mean, by adding them up and dividing by 9, because that's how many pieces of data. So we found out the mean was 54. And then today we found out that the mode was 52. And we now know that that is the number that shows up the most often. And I just wanted to point out that they're not the same. The mean, the median, the mean, and the mode are all measures of center, but they gave us different numbers. We do have a repeated number, right, at 52. Sometimes you'll find a set of data where the median, the mean, and the mode are all 3 different, and sometimes it's possible to have a set of data where they're all the same. So as you work through practicing this week, notice whether the mean, the median, and the mode have any repeated numbers.